There's a teacher for you. I'm one too. I'd like to call to order the William S. Hart High School board meeting for February the 7th. Will you? Okay, I'd like to report out from the closed session that the board took action to approve a demotion for a classified employee. The roll call vote was 5-0. I'd like to reestablish the quorum.
Present.
Mr. Messina?
Here.
Dr. Moore?
Present.
Mrs. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Storley?
Here.
And student board member.
Here.
We'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and let me see, there was a student that I just talked to. He was in a nice suit. Well, he was in a suit. I thought it was nice. No, I thought it was nice. Would you come forward and do the Pledge of Allegiance for us? Yeah, we'll get it. And I need your name, son.
Oh, my name is Carl Baumgartner, ma'am, with a K.
Okay.
Thank you. Just want to clarify that. Right hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I liked the suit.
Move to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
You take it.
Moved by Mr. Jensen, seconded by Dr. Moore to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of the January 17th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Moore, seconded by Mr. Messina. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Thank you. Recognitions by the board. Okay. Board member reports. What's that sound?
Flash flood. Because the rain must have started.
That's what we have, is a flash flood
I guess
warning.
they gave your warning that we were going to speak.
Okay. So why don't we start with Mr. Jensen first?
I have no report tonight.
Okay. Mrs. Wilson.
All right. Well, first of all, I wanted to report about the CTE, Career Tech Ed Symposium that was hosted by Rancho Pico, and we had our own Dr. Hoffman and Dr. Moore that were keynote speakers there, and it was a great turnout, and it was just a great activity, great event that we had in our district. And I'm so excited and encouraged by the CTE program in this district, and hopefully all of you who are parents have your students in some kind of pathway, because we have a lot of options. And so it's exciting to be able to give our students a competitive advantage. And then I had the honor and the opportunity to go to Placerita Junior High and to see their honor awards that they present every month. And it was phenomenal. I was so impressed and loved to see the energy that was there with all the students and the parents and the teachers and the administration. So that was really exciting and just good to be able to witness. And then some of you may remember at our last board meeting, Courtney Straka was introduced to us the Medal of Honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that program, that society that takes place, and there was a training in our district that we got to host because of her efforts and Mr. Vieira, which was excellent, and we had 29 district staff members take advantage of that opportunity. So it was great to see them there in force, and it was a great opportunity for them to to earn a little extra money and also to learn some great principles, to be able to teach. And so I'm grateful that we have a program that supports these kind of great resources and opportunities. And tomorrow at the Reagan Library, one of the Medal of Honor recipients is going to be speaking. So that is a pretty special opportunity. So if you have the opportunity to get that link, you can watch that remotely if you're not able to attend in person. So just wanted to let everybody know that. And that's a great program, and I'm grateful that our district has the opportunity to participate in that. So thank you.
Thank you. And I broke my own rule. I was going to have the student board member start, but I'll have you finish this time and start next time. Mr. Messina.
The only thing I'm going to report on is the Holocaust survivor that was supposed to speak at Hart High School last week. They postponed it because of the rain. They're bringing it back February 25th, and I'm going to, bring your nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, whoever. This would be a great event to go see and hear what they have to say and really understand somebody who was there and went through it. He's got I don't want to say he has a great story, but he does have a great story of survival. So try not to miss it. Look it up. And we're having it at the Hart High Auditorium. Great place to
Yes.
have it.
Yes. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, President Sturley. Good evening, everyone. Oh, is that another flash, another emergency notice? Is it?
Yes.
We haven't been outside since
Get the-
4:15, so I
get
don't
the
know, is
boats
it
out.
raining? It started to rain again? Okay. A few things. The middle school CT symposium was indeed a wonderful, wonderful event, and I'm grateful that I was able to be a part of that as a keynote closing speaker. As the mom of a middle schooler, as a former CTE teacher in this district, it was great to put those pieces together because where our middle school students, and this is what the research says, and that's my work background, if we lose them in middle school, the research shows that you actually lose them forever. Not just in high school, not just in college, but forever. So our CTE programs help students to connect, and I'm grateful that we have them and invested in them. Congratulations to the Hart High School girls varsity basketball team for an undefeated season. That is awesome. Miss Storley, Miss Wilson, and I attended the Santa Clarita Valley Trustees Association meeting on the 29th, and we had a few presentations, but one that I want to make sure that we are aware of and we've been a part of before is the Be Smart program, which is secure gun storage. And the parents shared about the benefits of making sure that all parents, whether or not you have guns in your home or not, that you are storing them safely. So this is an issue where I think many people agree on, everyone pretty much agrees on, is safe gun storage. And that presentation is something we gave out at one point with our registration packets, their postcards, and they are hopeful that we can share that information again. We will have the Black History Month art show here on the 13th at 6 o'clock. And I know we have a number of submissions that will be highlighted and shared here. This is also National School Counseling Week, and so I want to make sure that I take a moment to thank the counselors. They work really hard to connect with students and make a difference every day, just as all of our staff. But this week, as we're celebrating counselors, I want to just call them out in particular. This month is also National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. I'm speaking to parents now, I'm speaking to any teens who are watching. It is important this month that we focus on raising awareness about healthy relationships and that we acknowledge that there is teen dating abuse that happens here in the Hart District. If anyone is a victim of that type of abuse or know someone who is, the number is 800-799-SAFE, 800-799-7233. Not just this month should we be aware of this violence that happens in our community, in our district, but always, but we especially want to elevate it now and make sure that people are aware. And then I just want to wish everyone, because we won't see you between now and our next meeting, happy Mardi Gras, happy Valentine's Day, and happy President's Day. That's all. Thank you, Ms. Storley.
Thank you. When you go last, they've kind of taken everything, but the SCV Trustee Association meeting, which we have every quarter, all of the board members from the districts and our feeder districts and COC are invited to get together, and it's open to the public, but we talk about things that problems we've solved, and hopefully help each other in things that, that another district has fixed, and we can benefit from how they worked it out. That was very nice. Captain Diaz came and talked to us again about, we've got problems in the city, we've got problems here, but it sounded kind of funny, but he said it and it made sense. We're better off than most places. That doesn't mean we can't improve. And Captain Diaz made a nice speech. I was honored to welcome the LA County to the symposium at Rancho Pico, even though I was told to go to Rio Norte. I made it. The one thing about CTE, and I hear it all the time, is, well, my kid's going to go to college. Well, why not have a paying job? You know, a welder makes more money than many of us per hour, and if your child, oops, oops, oops. My mechanic makes, never mind. But if they can do that and save the money or use the money and pay for school, it's so much better than having debt afterwards. And I have paid off all of my student loans. I must say also that the talk on the safety of guns, I own guns, I have a gun safe. I'm very careful. I think that's really important that we watch and listen to kids. And if they say, hey, my friend showed me a gun, please say something. And something that Dr. Moore said about like date problems and boy-girl relationships, if they're not healthy, please say something. There's always a teacher. I know there is. There's always a teacher or a counselor or a groundsman that will listen to you and help you find the right way. I was going to say my phone number is in the phone book, but there's no phone books anymore. But pretty easy to find. Please let me know if you need help. We've got places, and as Dr. Moore said, there's a number to call. Please let us know if you're in a bad relationship and you need help. There are many people in this room that would help you. I visited West Ranch, Rancho Pico, Valencia, and Rio Norte. I like to go at lunch or brunch. I like to see how the kids interact when they're on their own. And what I found was it was well-mannered children, and they were having a good time. And they weren't doing anything, I usually think that kids aren't doing things that they're not supposed to do. Some people think that teenagers are always doing something wrong. What I did notice is that the junior high children were happier than the high school children. And I absolutely know why. They had no cell phones. I really believe that high school shouldn't have cell phones also. And I know you can throw things at me. I really think it's some communication, being able to actually speak to each other, having to speak to each other because you don't have a phone, I think is really important. That's what I was going to say. In the actual speaking to each other, I'd like to push for that. That's one of the things that I'd like to do. And happy all of those days that we're having in February. So that's my report. Now, who should have been first and now is last, I am so sorry, our student board member.
Thank you. My report's full of just congratulations also for National Cancer Week. I know I mentioned a lot about just college decisions and applications, and our counselors walk us through that every single process. And I just like to say thank you for them and all of their contributions to seniors and just to all the grades. And also, since basketball and soccer has closed out, a lot of teams are making it onto playoffs, so I'd say congratulations to them. It's a lot of hard work to do it in the winter, and they really made it happen. And even though the seasons are closing, the track season is starting, and I know that Castaic is going against Golden Valley around next week, and I like to say have a good job for that, and I'd like to say good luck for that. And then I know you mentioned Valentine's Day. A lot of ASBs are selling Valentine's Day grams, which is super exciting. A lot of students have been purchasing them, and for our school, we're doing something where our jazz choir will come to the classrooms and they'll perform to their special person. So I think that'll be really funny, and some people might find it a little embarrassed, but it's kind of funny. I'd also like to say congratulations to Valencia Color Guard because they had a Color Guard tournament last week, I think, and then they also placed first place, so I'd say congratulations to them. And to close out, this month is Black History Month. So a lot of the BSUs were doing multiple different BSU club meetings throughout the month, and something people to look forward to, and also just to be educated by. And then also a lot of students have submitted submissions to the Black History Month Art Showcase, so I'm excited to see a lot of those, and you guys should also come as well. That'll be February 13th, and it'll be here. So yeah, that's my report.
Thank you. I'm going to read something. This is public comment time? No, it's not. No, sorry. We have the, oh, are we switching? I have an arrow here. Yes. Okay. So we're going to hear from the California School Employees Association, CSEA, first. Mia Reed. Okay.
Good evening, Governing Board member, cabinet, community members. I'd like to do a special shout out, a special shout out to my union brothers, sisters, and siblings who have decided to show up and make their voices and their faces be known. I'd like to echo everybody's sentiments regarding National Counselors, School Counselors Week. I know firsthand how hard our counselors work every day, okay? They work as hard as our teachers do, as our classified employees do, to make all the schools the best that we can be. Sorry. You know me. Okay, my sincerest apologies. So I'm going to speak really briefly and recap what I said at last month's meeting. On the agenda later on. I'm sorry, I had a speech written out and everything like that, and then John asked me to go first, and I threw that speech out the window. So I'm winging it right now. Last month, I mentioned how I honestly and sincerely feel that the budget should reflect what is negotiated. We have been negotiating in arrears for so long, and I really believe that that is one of the reasons that has contributed to where we are at today, besides declining enrollment, but we're going to address that later. Negotiating in arrears does nothing but negatively affect the budget, because now you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay, you're taking money from the 24-25 school year to give what is negotiated for us in a previous year. Classified is negotiating 23-24. We're almost done. We're halfway done with the year. Teachers are negotiating a successor contract that ended June 30th of 2023. How can we make ourselves fiscally solvent if we cannot be able to properly budget what we negotiate? When we negotiate in arrears, and I'm going to say this again, and I will say it every time until we get this right, we get nothing but leftovers. That's how we feel. I'm not a leftover. Okay, I show up every day to work. I give 110% every time I sit at that desk. I sit down and I advocate for those who don't have a voice or who are afraid to voice because they know that they feel that they're going to get some sort of blowback. Okay, I'm one of the brave ones and I will continue to be one of the brave ones, and we need to get this right. We need to move forward in negotiations. We need to stop negotiating in arrears. And we need to get what we deserve. If you want us to continue servicing our students and our community at the levels that you expect, then give us what we deserve. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one speaker card, and I think it's Glenda.
Okay,
There you go.
I can hear you.
There you go.
All right, according to Transparency California, the pay raises from Colin, this is directed to you. The pay raise increase from 2020 to 2022, there is no 2023 numbers yet. Your pay went from $172,000 to $189,000, a difference of $17,000 within those 3 years, okay? In those 3 years, classified employees received between $1,000 and $3,000 per raise. 3 years, up to $3,000. Can you explain that, Colin? How you got so much more and nobody else could? You guys, Mia said it right. God knows I don't really care for her, but then I don't care for Joe either. But the point is, she said it correctly. You guys are always in arrears. You guys get your raises, and they don't. Who does most of the work? They do. Mike, you know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome the Hart District Teachers Association President John Minkus.
Good evening, school board, student school board member, President Storley, Superintendent Kuhlman, and staff. Thank you, as usual, for having me. Before I get going, I did want to thank the district for arranging a meeting with school services prior to the final report. I hope it was enlightening and helpful for us all. We hope this information leads to a quick, fair resolution to negotiations. As I begin, I first want to recognize all the counselors in the district during this National School Counseling Week. We have such an excellent, diverse group of counselors trained in and serving the dynamic needs of our students. Thank you all. As you know, I have the responsibility for supporting not only the counselors, but all 1,112 of our certificated staff. However, unlike administration, I support our people from the bottom up, not the top down. Whereas, say, Mr. Nielsen, who should be able to tell you everything about the newest educational labor laws or developments in the field of HR, or Mrs. Hunter, who can share her expertise and breadth of knowledge in student services, child welfare, and social emotional issues, among others, I'm responsible for understanding each and every person's job, the duties, protocols, and procedures that go with it. I know what really happens on the ground. I know what happens in and out of the classrooms. I see the individual hardships of not only our classroom teachers and teacher librarians, but our counselors, nurses, program specialists, psychologists, SLPs, and social workers alike. Do you? Did you know that 31 HDTA members maybe losing their health insurance plan at the end of the month, forcing them to scramble for new providers, and losing doctors with whom they have relationships? I doubt it. And maybe that's outside of your purview or below your pay grade, but in the end, it comes down to this. We are real people. We are not numbers. We are not pawns on a chessboard. Don't treat us as such. Looking at negotiations, you need to know that I've been doing this stuff since 1993. Whether you understand it or not, your actions are straight out of the district negotiations playbook. Your projections, your presentations, your delays, and your distractions won't work here. Been there, done that. You're not going to pull the wool over our eyes. We're not going to lay down like lambs, and we won't be fleeced of our fair share like you did with the failure to pay us last year's retro. After a board member negotiates in a public forum and the district discusses possible RIF numbers with individual HDTA members, the only reason we don't file an unfair labor practice is because we want a fair contract now. We will not be deterred. I've been through the years of zero increases, class size increases, lost wages. These are not those times. We cannot and will not bear the brunt of your mistakes and poor decision making or lack thereof. Do you ever ask why? How did it get this way? How did it happen so fast? I promise you this, it's not because you pay your employees too much. And you will not ride our backs through the mess you have created. When the district receives a cost of living adjustment or any other ongoing funding, our membership deserves a fair portion. It's all we're asking for, a fair deal. It's not your money, it's not Dave's money, it's not Jan's money, it's not Mike's money. It's money provided to educate our students. And that's what we do, the members of HDTA. So, we do all the work with students, and then you hand us what's left over after you divvy up the money and fill your coffers. We are tired of being treated with disrespect. You got the largest cost of living adjustment since 1986. We get our fair share. That's the way it works. The lack of respect shown to CSEA and HDTA, the people of this district, is as distasteful and disheartening as your obstinate ongoing non-offer of 0% 6 times over. We do our jobs and we do them well. We go above and beyond. What will it take to move you? Will it take some form of action or inaction to make it clear how much we do? At this point, we just respond to your actions or inactions, as the case may be. We await your next move. I guess we'll see it tomorrow at the table. So again, we sit here tonight, watching with great interest and greater unity. A small group of us, by choice, a cross-section of our membership, just as the colors of our new logo represent each school's colors, of which you see out here tonight. But really, this is just a metaphor for the unity and commitment we have across the entire district. We have never been so unified. As long as I am here, HDTA will continue to fight for what is fair. We will continue to work toward one heart, but we will do it united, HDTA united. Thank you. Oh, wait. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. When you see the budget presentation, you will see that the current year's COLA is the largest since 1986. But don't forget that last year's COLA was supplemented with additional ongoing money, making it around 13.8%. Just had to leave you with that one. Thanks. Thank you all for coming.
Ralph, and Mike, am I correct in understanding that that COLA that was for this year was applied towards a raise from before? Is that correct?
Careful, we
Okay,
can't.
okay, no.
We have speakers.
Actually, before we.
Okay, we have some speakers that would like to speak about HDTA. Glenda? Not fair, she can't hear me. Should I move her to the, okay. Rebecca? Okay. Glenda? Glenda? I understand. I saw him.
In Transparency California, Ralph, Colin, Michael, between 2020 and 2022, you received raises anywhere from $17,000 to $42,000. The teachers received raises maybe $7,000 to $9,000. And considering what they have gone to go through and the continuous education that they go through, I don't understand why you guys are not paying them. As a taxpayer, now I know where the money is going. It ain't going to them, either one, certified or classified. It's going to whoever works in that building or upstairs, anywhere here but in their pockets. So please open up your books again, Ralph. Let us know where the hell the money is and give it to the people that deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca? He's going to reset it.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Hindman, and I am a proud Saugus parent. Tonight's agenda is chock full of nuts. I could sit here all night and speak to several different agenda items, but I'm going to try and consolidate the best I can. Right now, our HDTA and CSEA are asking for a raise they should be getting because the district was given a COLA of 8.22%. If you look at one of your further reports, it looks like our COLA is going to be going down drastically. So wouldn't it make sense to actually give it to our teachers as a raise now? A raise that is well-deserved, because in the future, there may not be raises of any significance. The district's budgeting errors are many. Why are teachers in classified paying the price for the mistakes of administrators? I know that a few board members don't want to give raises because we have a few teachers that make $100,000 a year plus. Those teachers have been here for years and produce successful students every year. Let's talk facts. The national average teacher salary is approximately $66,000 a year. The starting salary base in Hart District is approximately $58,000. That is 13% below the national average. Santa Clarita's cost of living is 51% higher than the national average. Housing is 130% above the national average. A starter house, 1,300 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in my own neighborhood is selling for $799,000. That is, at today's rates, $5,000 a month mortgage, just the mortgage. That is $60,000 a year. Now let's look at paychecks. The average tax rate in California is 30% with a marginal of 42. Factoring health insurance, et cetera, we can say 35% comes out of a salary of $100,000. That would leave a net of $65,000 a year. That is $5,000 left for overhead. That is not a living. Even with 2 incomes, it is very difficult for many of our district's employees to make ends meet. You have an opportunity to make things better for our employees. Pay your employees now.
Thank you, Rebecca. Diane Zimmerman?
You'll be happy to know I left my notes in the car that's parked quite far away. So I'll just reiterate what can't be done can be done if we all get together and do it. So I'll just reiterate that all this could be solved pretty nicely. If you all just look into New California State, newcaliforniastate.com, we're kind of getting a little bit more known throughout California. And Los Angeles is lacking a little bit because we're lacking a little bit, can't get the people to look into it a little bit more. So newcaliforniastate.com, most of these people won't be up here, won't have to be. If they're up here, they're going to be saying, thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. So give it a shot. At least, you can join. You don't have to pay any money. And maybe if you just donate a minute of your time or 5 minutes of your time a week to send out an email or just to speak, believe it. Our forefathers, they didn't say it couldn't be done, and it can. So that's it. And God bless you all. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have the school site report from Castaic High School. And I understand that Mr. Ferry is not here. And I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Vieira.
Yeah, thank you.
Sitting next to Dr. Nielsen.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Ferry is actually at the Castaic High School's first ever CIF basketball playoff game. So we're very pleased to have Courtney Iacenda, assistant principal, here to present about Castaic High School. Thanks, Courtney.
Well, good evening, President Storley, Governing Board, and members of Cabinet. I'm thrilled to be here to speak on school culture on behalf of Principal Ferry, who has definitely howled at least 17 times since the game started tonight.
What's the score right now?
I tucked my phone away, so I can't tell you yet,
Okay.
but I know I have lots of pictures that he'll want posted shortly.
Hopefully it's a Coyote victory.
That's what we're hoping for. When I talk about school culture, I'd like to talk about it through 3 separate lenses: academics, extracurricular activities, and campus life. School culture is a very broad term, and we like to simply define it as our expectations for students. At Castaic High School, our expectations for our students are to be career and college ready, to meet all academic standards, to be engaged actively in the campus and in the community, and demonstrate kindness and inclusivity. Looking through the academic lens, you can see we hold a pretty high bar for our students. And we realize we can always move that bar a little higher to further demonstrate our students' success and achievements. If you look at the first bullet point, you will see 52% of Castaic High School student graduates, our first graduating class from last year, class of 2023, met the A through G requirement. In 5 years, we're striving for that percentage to be 65%. And I apologize, I skipped a line for you. On the right side of the screen in the gold font, those are our 5-year goals for our school and our students. As you work down the slide, you'll see about 1/3 of our students are enrolled in our ICANN program, College of the Canyons Academy North. These students are taking college courses on our campus during the school day. And 1/3 of them are enrolled in one of our career technical education pathways. Our enrollment numbers in ICANN and CTE pathways are very strong, but we want to see that continue. The impact that these programs have on our students' lives are life-changing, and our goal moving forward is to ensure that they continue to grow. We want to see in the next 5 years 50% of our students enrolled in the ICANN program or a CTE pathway. Currently, we're working with junior high outreach nights. Tonight, Mr. Marshall was speaking at Rio Norte. Last night, we were at Arroyo Seco. And, all right. And we're continuing the outreach with our current families to make sure they're better informed of all the benefits their students can gain from being in the ICANN program. I'd like to also highlight our 7% increase in math CAS scores that demonstrates a pretty significant growth for our campus. But what's even more impressive is our school-wide standard score. Our students had a 20-point increase in mathematics. We're also offering 8 co-taught classes on our campus. We strive to have 14 classes offered next school year. We believe that providing a rigorous education for all students is key. Finally, I'd like to highlight our MTSS, also known as Multi-Tiered Systems of Approach, our support. We feel with a continued concentrated effort on these tiered levels of support, we will reach our 5-year goals. And while I'm talking about academics, we have a little bragging point. Though the student didn't want to be mentioned, we recently just found out that one of our students earned a full academic scholarship to MIT. So big, exciting news. In terms of co-curricular and extracurricular activities, it's quite impressive how successful our students have been in a short amount of time, 5 years. Of course, we're proud of our CIF championship, the band championship, our national recognized TV and film program, and how well our performing arts program is developing. But what's most impressive to us is the percentage you'll see at the top left of our screen. 67% of our students are engaged in some type of curricular activity. We want every student on our campus engaged and participating in an activity. So you'll notice on the right side, school-wide interest survey. At the beginning of the school year, we surveyed all of our 9th grade students. Our 9th grade students were asked, what are you engaged in? What are you participating in? And if they weren't participating in an activity, as an administrative team, we met with each and every one of those 9th graders to provide them information on clubs and activities that were taking place on our campus and continue to check in with them monthly. We firmly believe being connected and involved in our school will provide students with positive social gains, but also academic gains. Finally, I'd like to look at Castaic High School's culture in relation to campus life. This past week, we trained over 200 students in our teen leadership program under the direction of one of our amazing English teachers, Cheryl Hanks. What she accomplished in those 2 days was remarkable. A big portion of this training was teaching students how to create a positive school culture and how to work as leaders within their peer groups. This is a group of students that we heavily rely on to hear what's going on our campus. And earlier this year, Mr. Ferry met with our leadership students to find out what are their 5 favorite things about our campus, what's best, but also where can we grow and where are students struggling. So you can see the strengths that they listed, opportunities to meet new students, meet new people, inclusive environment, welcoming and warm staff, cool school merchandise. You'll have to check out our ASB store. Very little drama amongst students, and where they'd like to see us grow as a campus, more confidence to show that school spirit. They got the good merch. Teaching positive body image, time management. Our students feel their time is stretched too thin. Cell phone usage, and better awareness of the dangers of vaping. We're currently already working with our health teachers to see how we can better implement body image lessons and the dangers of vaping within the health curriculum, so there's a deeper understanding. We're also looking at a plan for our advisory classes where we can cover some of these other topics that are important to them. But ultimately, I am super proud to be representing the Castaic High School community. We adore our students, our staff, and our families, and Castaic really is a great place to be. Thank you so much.
Board members, do you have any questions?
Well, I sent Mr. Ferry a text as you started, and I have not heard back from him, so hopefully it's a Castaic victory tonight.
Open to.
Who were you playing? What team? Do you recall?
Cal Lutheran High.
Okay,
Well, they're like almost down in San Diego.
okay. Long drive. Nice presentation. Thank you very much, and we appreciate all you're doing there at Castaic. And we see all these things that you're talking about here. We see the growth and the development and the improvement, and it's really great to see. So thank you again. A great presentation.
I love your Facebook page.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your comments.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This was a good presentation, and the information that I have is that Castaic is winning 26-19 right now.
Okay.
But I'm curious about your academics at a glance slide. You said that the parentheses beside represent the 5-year goals, and I was just wondering from which year?
So currently we're in a WASC accreditation, getting ready for our visit. So we've been working with all our stakeholders and studying a lot of data. So moving forward into the accreditation process after this WASC visit is where we're looking to move from.
But the year that the goals were set, I guess my question maybe wasn't clear, sorry.
What year?
What year were the goals set, and
This
what
year.
year are we in? Oh, so they're
This-
right now.
They're our
Okay.
current year goals.
Got it. Thank you. And I love that you met with every 9th grader who wasn't currently engaged and involved in an extracurricular activity. Do you have any information on what happened as a result of that? And I know you had 67%, and then you met with the students who weren't a part of that.
So some of the students we found, they were heavily involved in activities outside of school. So they weren't involved. Some of them were new to our community and didn't know where to connect themselves. And it was really nice meeting with those students and just seeing them out on campus and knowing you were mine, let's say hello, and just finding out what they're doing.
But thank you for doing that. I think that's amazing.
And that's really important. Our hope would be that all that you met with decided to sign up for some kind of an activity. But a lot of them, and I do know that a lot of kids at Castaic are also in athletics outside of school. So that sounds really good, and I do appreciate you going and talking to them. I personally believe that having any connection, football, band, whatever, makes school not only more fun, but keeps them involved in academics as well as whatever they've chosen to participate in. Keeps a lot of kids in school. Many, many kids stay in school so they can play football, play basketball, do this, do that. So I think that's very important. It also helps build your school culture. So I thank you, and I love Castaic since it's one of my 4 schools.
I'm a big fan too. I'm thrilled to be there.
Thank you. Okay, I have.
I was just going to say one thing as well. I was waiting until you're done, but I wanted to. You already touched on what I was so impressed with was that you would take that extra time to go above and beyond and reach out to those individuals. And also, what I appreciated was your follow through, because it wasn't just one time. You said that you would connect again and again, and I think that including that, helping them to understand, that's like part of education as well. You're educating them on what's available to them, because like you said, some who are new to the community didn't even know what was available. So, and then now they have a familiar face that they can feel comfortable with on their campus. And so I love that. Thank you so much for this presentation, for all you're doing. I see the community that you're creating there at Castaic is just fantastic. It's just such a fire, every activity that you have, and I think it's due to that personal attention that you're giving to all your students, getting to know them.
Joe, did you have anything? No. Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Would you tell Vince that we understand why he wasn't here? And what's that score?
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Up by 10 in the 3rd quarter. I just got a text from Vince.
Thank you.
Ahead by 10 in the 3rd.
Now
So
he's
we've got
smiling.
1 quarter to go. I don't do math, but there's 4 quarters, right? Okay, let's go in. Yes,
Madam President, did you have more public speaking cards?
we're doing it right now.
Okay, got it.
We're doing it right now because the others were,
Strictly for HDTA?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so now I will read this to you. Not that you don't know it by heart, but here we go. This is the time set aside to address the governing board on a topic within the board's subject matter jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda. Please complete a speaking card, we've got those, and submit it prior to the beginning of the public comment period. 20 minutes are allotted for public comment at this time. The first 10 people to submit a card prior to the beginning of public comment will be heard. Additional time is set aside later in the meeting if any speakers were not heard during the first public comment section. Time may be limited to public comment based on the number of people who wish to speak. If you wish to speak regarding this item on the, that does appear on the agenda, you will be called at that time to make comments. So, my first person here, I can't read the name. Carol, Carl, George, Fred. Got a question for you. Did I speak to your mother?
I believe so.
Yes. Welcome. She spoke very highly of you. You have 2 minutes. It is.
I'd get closer to it, though, if you want to be heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carl Baumgartner. I am a junior at West Ranch High School. Within my hand are over 500 signatures from students of West Ranch High School, whom I represent, as well as my peers. Our concern, addressing your current commitment to teachers and how it affects us students. Dedicated teachers are the students' pathway to a brilliant future. They are vital to all institutions' ecosystems. In addition to their scholastic tasks, devoted teachers support students during off-contract hours emotionally and academically. They are uniquely skilled in solving problems and create areas for community and opportunity through school clubs and various organizations. As the founding president of the very first West Ranch Weightlifting Club, I, as well as other club members, can address to the role of teachers within clubs from a personal experience. Mr. Michael Kane, my club advisor, during off-contract hours, time and time again has been instrumental in the club accomplishments. Not only does Mr. Kane assist in running the club, he is available to the common student during club meetings to offer advice about safe and quality exercise. Teachers are an invaluable source of compassion and guidance, especially in times of need. When my grandfather passed away just last year, my teachers provided me with personal counseling and advice to get through my hardships and emotional pain. In the event of a strike, I fear that other students with similar emotional needs may not be able to depend on a substitute. Above all, we must remember the real reason why these institutions exist is they must serve a purpose. Teachers and districts exist to serve the educational and emotional requirements of students. This impasse, however, between the union and the board greatly contradicts said purpose. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Very nice. Your mom should be proud. Next, we have Patrick. You know, I was a school teacher for 30 years. I should be able to do this. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Upside down. I see it right away. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Patrick Parra, and I'm a junior from West Ranch High School. And today I want to convey and clarify my thoughts and views on the undervaluation of our West Ranch educators, as well as why adequate compensation is an important tool for shaping the future. In the magnificent tapestry of our civilization, teachers are the important thread that connects the fabric of our future. They are the mentors, advisors, and knowledge guards who form the minds of our future generation. Every day, they enter classrooms armed not only with textbooks, but also compassion, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to their students' development. Despite the pivotal role they play, teachers often find themselves grappling with undervaluation and insufficient compensation. This discrepancy between the monumental impact they have and the recognition they receive is a stark reminder of the symmetric undervaluing of educators. It's time to adjust the narrative. It's time to acknowledge that investing in our teachers is an investment in our shared future. By increasing teachers' salaries, we not only recognize their diligent work, but we also ensure that students receive the quality education they deserve. Competitive pay attracts and keeps outstanding people, promoting an environment of excellence in our educational institutions. Moreover, higher pay for our teachers is an investment of the well-being of our communities. When educators are adequately compensated, they are better equipped to provide the individualized attention and support that every student needs and deserves. This, in turn, leads to improved academic performance, higher graduation rates, and ultimately a more prosperous society. So let's stand in solidarity with our teachers. Let us advocate for the recognition and compensation they deserve. Let us ensure that the tireless champions of education receive the support they need to continue shaping the bright minds of tomorrow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. starts with a D, and then there's a little scribble, and then there's another D.
Didi.
Hello, my name is Duk Dang, and I thank you for allowing me to speak my stance on this issue today. I would like to address the adverse impact of the teacher strike, of the possible teacher strike, not only on your students, but also on our fellow Santa Clarita citizens. Allow me to explain. In light of this teacher strike, the indefinite discontinuation of our student-run clubs will be a void in our daily routines. Especially at West Ranch, our clubs serve as havens of belonging, support, and shared interests, where anybody can join a group of like-minded students or find a new friend circle. Without our hardworking teachers receiving adequate pay, these students will no longer have places of community and company. To some, clubs may just be a place to eat lunch and hang out, and to others, it is a place where they feel accepted and valuable. However, the discontinuation of our clubs will not only affect the students, it will affect the whole of Santa Clarita as well, and here's what I mean. There are some incredible clubs at West Ranch whose main mission is to serve the community in some way, whether it be at a local, national, or even international level. A small batch of these amazing clubs include Helping Our Heroes, Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, and many more. I'll use the club Prince with Purpose as my example. Their mission is to create beautiful pieces of artwork and sell them for a profit, all of which go towards a charity of their choice. If teachers continue to receive inadequate pay, then that would mean this great club will no longer be able to donate to an organization that may desperately need the funds. The fallout of this teacher strike will have dreadful effects, to say the least, and so I plead, please don't take this away from us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Catherine Perez.
Hello, school board. Hello, student school board member. I'd like to thank you, of course, for letting me speak tonight and listening. I'm Catherine Perez. I'm a senior at West Ranch High School, and instead of studying for my AP Physics test, I'm sorry, Mr. Stanich, I wanted to join the discussion that will ultimately determine the trajectory of my future and my entire generation's future. Despite the fact that teachers are operating without a contract and no offer of an ongoing raise, they continue to invest their time, money, and emotional support into their students. I stand before each of you today on behalf of all of the students in the Hart District who are looking up to you to make a difference in their lives today. We would like you to acknowledge the incredible sacrifices that teachers have made to allow us to thrive. Our teachers give more to their students than they have for themselves on a daily basis beyond their job description, and they deserve to be appreciated for it. Without quality educators, this will no longer be a quality district. From practically inhaling their food at lunches to answer math questions, or staying after school to assist struggling students mentally, they have become a safe space for us. They have become more than teachers. They are a friend at times. They are our mentor, and they are the last step in our lives before we turn into adults, voting adults, who will be the future of this country. Therefore, I ask you today to invest in these teachers who will change our lives, your children's lives, and the lives of everyone to come. Right now, as I said, the eyes of every student in the Hart District are on each of you, and I hope you will listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenda. 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 And after Glenda, we'll have George.
Don't look so happy. It'll be a few seconds. One heart, right? Students, parents, one heart. I do want to say before I start with this speech, thank you for getting the money for the buses for the Saugus band to get to the airport. Okay? However, you all know how hard I worked from 2022 to 2023 to get the money. Thank you, Mike, for finally getting it for us. At that time, I was not aware that you guys had gotten the biggest COLA raise since Mike said, what, 1998? Why do we have to fight so hard to get for these school buses? when the money was already here. It's bad enough that we can't give it to the teachers, we can't give it to the custodial or the secretaries, but we couldn't even give it to the kids. So there is an issue here, an absolute issue. If you can't give to the kids, then why are we one heart? If you can't give to the teachers or the custodial staff or the groundskeepers, why are we one heart? Think about that, please. Thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. George? And I think it's Saldivar?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
I can read yours.
Thank you. And you pronounced it right. So
Thank
many
you.
people stumble with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so good evening. My name is George Saldivar. I am 18 years resident of Santa Clarita. However, my family roots are deeper than that. We trace it back to my grandparents, back to the 1800s, who are Native American Tataviam Indians. Two of my great uncles used to work for Mr. Hart as ranch hands. My great cousins worked at Hart High School as mechanics. My dad went to Hart. Although he didn't graduate, he did earn his GED, and he dropped out, or not dropped out, but he enlisted in the Marines to go fight in Vietnam. So I'm here tonight regarding a letter that I sent to Superintendent, and I do apologize. So I'm going to stumble here a little bit, to Superintendent Michael Coleman and to President Linda Storley, which read in part that I would like to rescind, make null and void all actions authorized by Agenda 9A, the Hart High School mascot on July 14th, 2021 meeting. One of the motions that was listed is two-way, which reads in part that a mural would be painted on the campus that provides education about history of Native Americans, including the Fernando Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. Unfortunately, if anyone has seen that mural, there is no depiction of the Tatavians or any Native persons for that matter. So in the letter that Tony Henson wrote, who is the president of the Native American Guardians Association, he said regarding school nicknames and logos, quote, "You can rest assured that many more natives, both local to your area and not, find them respectful and honoring and help keep our people visible in modern society." Unfortunately, this mural does the exact opposite. It doesn't show them, it actually erases them. So the reason why I'm here is that I believe that the rescission of all the actions will be great benefit to the students, alumni, and the community stakeholders.
Sir, your time is up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Saldivar. Jennifer? Got it.
Good evening, members
Hi.
of the board. My name is Jennifer Saldivar. I am an alumni of Hart High School. I have children who also go to Hart High School. And I am also here to speak on the mascot change for the Hart High School. In a student survey conducted on March 12th, 2020, 49% of the students favored keeping the mascot. 26% of them favored changing it, and 25% had no preference. A second survey was conducted where 661 students voted to keep the mascot, 340 voted to change it, and 340 had no preference. The results of both of these surveys favored in keeping the Indian name. In continuation of supporting of the mascot, and as George had mentioned, we received a letter of support provided by the Native American Guardian Association supporting this position. Hart has made all the concessions as requested by the Tatavian tribe over many years in an effort to remain amicable and supportive of their position while not affecting the history of the school and desires of the community and student population. So it leads me to ask, why are we here? You as a board overrode the community consensus and took the position of a single student from an emotional standpoint rather than evaluating the data and making an educated decision by properly vetting the position both for and against the situation. What gives you the right to override the community voice, the community that votes you into position, trusting that you are representing our students and their best educational interest? How can we trust the decisions that you are making are not founded on your personal emotions or political agenda, but for the benefit of the community you're representing? Furthermore, and in light of most of the discussions here this evening, you need to reevaluate the financial impact that will have on an already disadvantaged school. utilizing funds that would be used to provide better facilities for our students, educational programs, and tools necessary for learning, and our teachers. To me, this is a misappropriation of funds and should be reevaluated and audited.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Diane Zimmerman, and then Edward Johnson.
I'm reading this in behalf of a resident and supporting George Saldivar and the young lady that just spoke. Superintendent Coleman, President Storley, members of the governing board, I deeply regret that I cannot attend the meeting tonight as I have an obligation to attend a small group meeting sponsored by my church. I'm disappointed that the agenda committee apparently failed to honor and respect the request by my friend George Saldivar to place an item on tonight's agenda to rescind all actions authorized by item 9A at your July 14th, 2021 meeting. In late December 2023, George Saldivar approached me to sign his wife Jennifer Saldivar's Change.org petition to retain the Indian mascot at Hart High School and ask for advice. I gladly signed the petition and advised George that he did not have to make the case with signatures for an action item to be placed on the agenda. California Education Code 35145.5 clearly states, it is the intent of the legislature that members of the public be able to place matters directly related to school district business on the agenda of the school district governing board meetings. George Saldivar was specific in the action he requested the board to take, and he submitted it in a timely manner, giving the administration and board members sufficient time to prepare and provide the public notice required under the Brown Act. As a simple matter of fact, over 1,400 people have signed Jennifer Saldivar's petition to retain the Indian mascot since December 2023. It appears to me that the effort to nullify his legal and honorable request contradicts the board's obligation under the Education Code 35145.5, whatever. The truth is, the Saldivars and their supporters should not have to attend tonight's meeting to get down and beg for the board to place this item on the agenda.
Thank you,
The
Diana.
Hart District.
Thank you.
This sounds like New California State.
Next, Edward Johnson.
Thank you, School Board. I'd like to support the prior two speakers with regards to the change of the mascot. I had just recently learned about it, and I can't help but believe that the community had a fair hearing, and I would like to respectfully request that it be put back on the agenda so that you can hear from the community, both pro and con, so that you can, in your conscience, know that a good decision was made without bias. I graduated from Boise High Braves. Because of the many out-of-state move-ins into Idaho, into Boise, my home state, this same topic was brought up for Boise High Braves. They changed from being plural, the compromise was changing from Braves to Brave. Unbelievable, just one S, going from plural to singular. If we went from plural Indians to Indian, that may not have the same meaning, but I venture to say that there are not all Native Americans that are against the use of the mascot, the Indian mascot. On that date, it was rescinded. Bill Hart probably turned over in his grave. That relationship with the Indians was dear to him. That's the reason why it's an Indian mascot. The greatest respect you can have for a culture is learning their language. He learned the Sioux language. That type of education in history needs to be taught to those that are against it, if they don't already know. But I venture to say that there hasn't been a Hart High graduate that has had the Indian mascot and held it in pride. Ironically, this Sunday we have the Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs playing. So let's please put it back on the
Thank you,
agenda.
sir.
Thanks.
Lydia.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to propose that the district put on the agenda to vote on making a school policy that no teacher, administration, or staff ask a child for their preferred name, nickname, and pronoun electronically, verbally, or on paper. A child will be only called by their given name on the school roster unless notified by the parent to be called by another name. The law AB 1266 does not require teachers to call a child by anything other than their birth name, nor does a child have a right to demand to be called by another name. I have a long list of people in the school district who actively colluded, had meetings to go against me and my husband, and our concern as a concerned parents. The district socially transitioned our daughter against our wishes without our consent for 2 years. What I had to do to make you stop caused me deep mistrust of the schools and the people that run them and extreme emotional pain. I want no parent to have to go through what this district has put me through. That's why I asked last year for you to look at Jen Speck's parental notification. It was sad to see in November at the meeting so many parents and people wanting to keep secrets. It was also disheartening to see parents that were afraid to stand up to the bullies. I hope you do the right thing this year and vote yes for parental notifications and stop being afraid and doing the right thing. I have something incredible to share with you. I'm helping Aaron Friday and Jonathan Zackerman, who formed ProtectKidsCalifornia.com. We are parents on a mission to protect children, a statewide ballot initiative in California that will require schools to notify parents regarding children's mental health concerns in schools, including gender identity issues. Protect girls' sports and school space and spaces for girls only. Prevent the sterilization of children by using puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, mastectomies, and genital surgeries on minors. As a woman of color in the honor of Black History Month, I will quote from Alice Walker from A Color Purple.
I'm
when
so
Celie
sorry, but
says,
your time's
I
up.
curse you until you do right by me, everything you do will crumble.
Was I cursed? Okay, thank you so much. We will move on in our agenda to Superintendent Coleman. Is it?
Mrs. Hunter.
Mrs. Hunter, I'm sorry, it says Mike Coleman.
No problem. Thank
okay.
you, President Storley. This evening,
By the way, nice colored jacket.
yes, I thought it was lovely. I like yours too. How do I make that? Oh, Debbie will do it. Debbie. All right, this evening I wanted to present to the board an update on Focus Area 2 of our strategic plan. Focus Area 2 focuses on safety and wellness, and this is an area that our district has very robust plans, services, supports, and programs. So my focus this evening will be on the foundation of each of our initiatives, along with the new items that we have added to that initiative, rather than going through every single thing the district has done, because that would take about 2 hours to go through. I really do appreciate the board's support in this particular focus area, because I think you guys have done an incredible job of really putting a lot of effort into increasing safety and wellness for all of our students and all of our campuses. And I think you'll see that. All right, so initiative number 1 is expand support structures to enhance student and staff wellness on each campus. Our foundation is right there in the middle, which is our wellness rooms. We have wellness rooms now on almost every one of our campuses, with the exception of Golden Oak, which is our adult school, and it doesn't really have a schedule that lines up with having a wellness room. We are currently creating one over at Bowman that will be both an outdoor wellness area plus a resource center for our students to be able to get necessary items that their family may be in need of. And we have our other 2 schools that are alternative campuses, our AOC and Learning Post, and they both do have wellness rooms. And all of our comprehensive campuses have one, and they're all staffed full-time. And so that really is the foundation. And then we go from there into some of our new things that we've added. This year, the one I'm most excited about is Hazel Health. We were able to add Hazel Health as an option for all of our students. It is telehealth. It is limited therapy, but they are able to get 6 to 8 sessions. They're able to access this at home or they can access it at school as needed. We've had over 1,000 students actually access Hazel Health so far this year, and we have 850 students currently receiving treatment and going to their regular appointments. And it has really been something that our counselors and our social workers have been very, very positive about how easy it is to get access. Parents have to be involved with every step of it. They have to give consent for their child to be able to receive the services. And the parent, even if they want to, can go on our website, click one little link, and they can sign their own child up to receive services rather than it having to even go through the school. And so this is a service that we're very, very happy with and hope to continue having it in future years. The next area where we have something brand new, it's our very first year with our Health and Human Services CTE pathway, which is basically our wellness pathway, or SEL. We have it where we've started it at 3 schools, AOC, Valencia, and Canyon. And so we have taught semester 1 and semester 2 of a brand new curriculum focused on social and emotional learning. Next year, those same 3 schools will roll out the second part of the curriculum, so year 2, and then there will be year 3, which will be actually a practicum year for students that have already went through year 1 and year 2, and they will start doing peer counseling in our wellness centers. And so once we get to that point, we'll hopefully expand to other schools as we're able to actually provide training by our teachers as the trainers for future teachers. The area that you'll see over at the very bottom here really just kind of summarizes how rich we are with services and support. We now have the telehealth. We have counselors, psychologists, social workers, therapists, student care teams, district care team, and community partnerships that all work together to make sure that we're able to have someone that meets the needs of each one of our students who is in need at a time. Our next initiative is to continue to develop practices that encourage productive relationships and inspire positive behavior patterns. Our foundation for this particular area is our Capturing Kids' Hearts program, which training has been offered on every single one of our campuses, and actually that training continues. It is one that has higher and higher levels, and it focuses on all of our adults having relationships with students, students having relationships with each other, because we know that that human connection is what makes a difference both in people's lives, but also in keeping our campuses safe. All the research that's been done points to the fact that you're going to have a safer campus if you have people who care about each other than if you have all the walls in the world to keep, supposedly people out of the campus. And so we really, really rely on that as our foundation. On top of that, we have our PBIS program, which is heavily used at our junior high schools, which is positive behavior intervention and supports, really to try to help kids almost with character counts, character development, responsible behavior. And then our newest piece of this is our school climate and culture. All of our campuses have a diversity, equity, and inclusive group, but we also have added Mr. Ira Rounsaville, who is a social worker in charge of climate and culture. He has now administered surveys to students, to staff, and to parents to find out what their thoughts are on the different campuses of the climate and culture, what are areas of growth for us. He's doing a 2-week residency at every single one of the schools, and then we'll be bringing back information that he has collected to really devise plans to help all of the schools moving forward with improving their different areas of climate and culture. And we did have a community gathering last year to get input on this whole new process, and we will continue those also every time in the fall. So that will be an annual program. Our next initiative is to provide and promote cohesive systems of support to impact student attendance, behavior, and social emotional well-being. As we know, most of the schools throughout the actually throughout the country, not just through California, have had a decrease in student attendance. Our district has always been one that has prided ourselves in having extremely high attendance by our student population, but due to COVID, we also experienced a decline. We decided to attack this by bringing in another expert, which is a social worker who is in charge at a district level of improving attendance, and we've already seen results from that. Every single one of our schools has increased its attendance above what it was this time last year, and that is significant because as our campaign has been this year for students to be present both at school but also in life, and we are really pushing that campaign because being at school isn't just about doing your academic schoolwork, it's about all the experiences that you get in the classroom, interacting with your peers, interacting with teachers, and you can't duplicate that by sitting at home just doing an assignment in front of your computer. And so we're really pushing out that message and hoping to continue to increase what our attendance is on all of our campuses, along with that improved behavior and social emotional well-being. Next, multi-tiered system of support. This you might have heard already this evening, I know from Castaic, but it is across all of our campuses, and it's a way to look at what we're offering, not just in academics, but in all areas of the child and child support. And so multi-tiered system of support says Tier 1 are supports that we offer to every single student on every campus. So for example, one of the ones mentioned here, and I'm not going to read the list to you, is the wellness centers. Any student can go into a wellness center at any time they want to on a campus and be able to get support in there. That's Tier 1. Tier 2 is more for some students, so not all students, but some. So in the area of wellness centers, some students might be invited to participate in a group, for example, a grief group or social skills group, where they actually come into the center and participate in that. That's generally about 15% of your population are going to have Tier 2 level supports. Tier 3 is really reserved for your highest level of support, and this is generally your special needs students. It should be about 5% of your population, and that's the students who really need the greatest amount of support to be able to be successful at school. So this is our foundation again of offering tiered supports to all of our students in all areas to help them be successful now and in their future. Our next area is systematically identifying evolving security needs, evaluating current and potential protocols, and allocating resources to enhance safety. I think as we all know, safety is something that we continue to address day by day. We are always doing research to see what is new, what is available, what is effective to be able to make sure we keep our campuses, our students, and our staff safe. Our journey began back around 2012 as far as my involvement with it when we brought in Mr. Patrick Prince, who has continued to be our consultant over the years. He is the Associate Vice Provost at USC, and he works in the Office of Threat Assessment and Management. In 2012, he brought to us our first actual work toward developing our district threat assessment teams, and we've continued to refine that process so that now we have student care teams and district care team to be able to reach all of our students' needs. The layers on top of the things that we have brought in have included our BARC system. We do all of our Keenan Safe School training, our Safe Visitor system. Again, we have many, many of them that are not pictured here, but our two newest ones are the K9 gun detection, which has turned out to be a wonderful service for us this year. We've actually had the schools reach out multiple times to request a specialty visit by the dogs because they had some kind of a rumor or something through social media that they just wanted to have that extra layer of protection for. So we have found it to be extremely valuable. And then the work that Mr. Ira Roundsville's been doing with the surveys is going to continue to help shape what we do in the future in the areas of safety and wellness on our campuses. The next initiative is to provide clear, consistent, and timely communication regarding safety protocols to all sites in their communities. We rely on Crisis Go as our foundation for doing any type of crisis communication. Every one of our campuses have a care text line with a poster that's up all over campus. Students are able to put that text line into their phone, and anytime they have any concern about anything at school, whether it's someone else's well-being, whether there might be a fight, whether it might be a drug situation, they're able to send a text in confidence, and that goes directly to our administrators and to our SROs, and they are able to investigate whatever that concern is and to address that. And those have been extremely active on all of our campuses. Our newest addition in the area of communication has been Parent Square, which we converted to from using Blackboard, which is what we used for years. I think the feedback that we've received so far from the community and from our teachers is that it's been a very, very positive tool that allows kind of back and forth reciprocal communication in a really easy format. It's something that most of the people in our valley are used to, because if their kids went here for elementary school, the elementary schools also use Parent Square. So I think that's been a really good transition for us in the area of communication. And that is the end of my presentation as far as that focus area.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Hunter. Anyone?
Thank you.
The questions, just.
Kathy, you're doing a great job. Thank you for the
Yes.
presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Just a comment. I asked at the last time that we start to include the action table, and thank you for including that. For me, the slide, the presentation is wonderful and very visual, but the details that are in that action plan kind of lay out what you're saying. So I really appreciate that, because I can say, okay, we did that just as we said. So thank you.
I'm glad we were able to provide that, and I have a few other just detailed kind of things I'll be providing to the board members just for you to read as backup information to go along with the larger topics.
I'd like to say thank you for your presentation, and I thought it was really interesting to see the Hazel Health. That's a really good resource for students, and also all the other wellness activities. But I do have a question about the multi-tiered systems. For tier 2, for instance, or tier 3, is it something that's like a referral, like the staff refers the students to those tiers, or is it something that like a student requests for as well? Or is it just...
It can be either way. So tier 1, for example, any student can use anything on there at any point in time. Those are things like in the academic area, it would be your after-school tutoring that you can stay for. Wellness room, again, you just go in whenever you want to. But all of the staff members or even your family members can ask for you to have some type of intervention on any one of those tier levels. So tier 1 would be for anybody, so that you would always get a yes if it's something you want to utilize. Tier 2, on the other hand, would be more of something that a teacher might suggest, a counselor might suggest, that a student would benefit from. Example I gave was grief counseling. So if somebody's had a recent loss in their family, I think a young man spoke about his grandfather passing, he would have been a perfect student to have said, hey, we have a grief group starting, would you like to be part of it? It's all voluntary, so it wouldn't be required. One of our other newest things, which I actually didn't touch on, is Child and Family Center started doing also a new program with us that's tier 2 intervention. And what they do is any student who wants to come for 2 days, they do life skills training. We're using it in 2 different ways. One, if a student is about to be suspended for 2 days for inappropriate behavior, they can choose to go to Child and Family Center for those 2 days and actually receive credit and not be suspended for those 2 days, and that way they're actually getting an education and it's considered an other means of correction. Or somebody might suggest that they would just benefit from that curriculum and they can go there for the 2 days. So that can happen 2 different ways. Tier 3 is pretty much you're looking at special needs students, and that's an IEP process, and so that's not going to be available to all students. That's going to go through a very rigorous formal process. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
So much. We appreciate it. I have one speaker, Rebecca Heinman.
Hello again. I want to start off by saying thank you to the board and the district for focusing on our students' mental health care. I also appreciate hearing that we actually have grief groups here, because I don't know if many know, Santa Clarita does not have grief groups for students, for anyone under 18, let alone it's hard to even find for an adult. As a parent who had to use a grief group and grief counseling, thank you. I appreciate that. But on to the issue. With that said, we have 3 campuses that have had significant needs in wellness centers. They are Saugus, Bowman, and Sequoia. Saugus finally has a dedicated space as of this school year. It has been long overdue. Side note, Leslie Rowe will be at our PTSO meeting next Tuesday talking about the Wellness Center and all the wonderful things she does. Moving on, though, what concerns me most, though, is Bowman and Sequoia. Why are we so delayed getting these two sites, wellness centers, when these are our core students that have some of the greatest needs in our district, they're relegated to a cabinet, a shelf, a shared space in a classroom. Why are they always the last one on the list? We need to prioritize these students because this program, Bowman, sorry, I adore Bowman, the success that this program has. I saw a student that I happen to know who went through Bowman today. I happen to be on the COC campus. And let me tell you, this student is a shining example of success, going to school, working hard, and making something of their lives. We need to prioritize Bowman and Sequoia and making sure that they do get the wellness centers that they deserve. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Peshek.
Thank you, President Storley and members of the board. Ms. Brittany Krasinski is also joining us this evening, and we'll present a few of the slides as we move through this evening. Staff's pleased to bring this budget update back to the board this evening. At the last board meeting, I inadvertently placed an incorrect slide in the presentation, and we tried to do too much on the day that we actually got the information, and I've apologized to the board, but I want to apologize to the community as well for any confusion and heartache that may have caused. This evening, we're glad to bring that item back in the form of Governor's budget update. While some of the slides you'll see this evening were included in the prior report, I've included them because I believe it's important that as we talk about it's a comprehensive view, and so that's why some of these slides you'll see are repeats from last time. It's generally known via public media that the state of California has a significant budget shortfall due to lower than anticipated revenues in the 2022 tax season and lower than anticipated revenues in 2023. That will be proved out or wrong as tax season continues for the 2023 school year. The challenge is the governor's predicted over a $26 billion shortfall. The legislative analyst's office has a much higher number, $30 billion higher. And where do you reconcile the two? In the case of the Legislative Analyst's Office review of the governor's budget, they referred to it as plausible but optimistic. But he has taken some interesting and creative steps to protect schools' budgets from cuts, deferred revenue, except in cost of living adjustments. And that's the bad news that we're going to look at. Education is facing a COLA-only year, and the COLAs that we expected for next school year and the two following school years have been adjusted down by the Legislative Analyst's Office, and those assumptions have been communicated to us by the government that we should expect those much lower COLAs. Just as an informational item, one of the board members asked to see what did the COLA history look like over the years, so it's included for the benefit of the board to review at your leisure in the future and for the community as a whole. Transparency, wonderful thing. What's not in the education budget that the governor proposed is that despite significant drops, he's proposed no overall cuts, but there's a $9 billion unknown in his proposal that he has not addressed yet. And as we look forward to the May revise, it'll be interesting to see how he addresses that last $9 billion. The items he's proposing, no deferrals for next year's school budget. We and other school districts have been through deferrals before, and for the benefit of the public, what that means is over 80% of our revenue comes from the state. And if the state's having budget problems, sometimes how they solve that is through manipulating cash flows. And we may expect an operating revenue payment from the state on November 1st. The legislature and the governor may notify us, by the way, you'll see that in April or May. So if you were expecting that money in November, hopefully you have other money available to pay your bills until the money shows up. And most school districts then have to go out and secure lines of credit, depending on their financial situation, called trans. And so it's good that today there are no deferrals posted, but in May, the governor will revise based on 2023 actual budget revenue, and we'll see what his proposal looks like in May. And he's not proposing any sweeps, meaning any of the funds or grants that are out there right now, he's not proposing to take them back. You'll remember that in a prior budget, all the school districts in the state had received some grant money, and then the governor proposed taking half of it back after school districts had already been spending the money. And fortunately, the legislature brought that one. But at this time, he's not proposing to sweep any of those. The next few slides you'll see are really informational. I won't go into any detail on them, but these are the basic assumptions that all school districts in the state of California use as they plan their budgets for adoption. And so the state tells us, per student, you will receive X funding. You should plan on using these cost of living numbers. You should expect in each one of these categories to receive this level of financing per student. And those are a lot of the assumptions we use are very standardized on a state level. Now, I referred to the change in the COLA. The district and all districts had originally been planning for the 24-25 school year a 3.94% COLA. We received word for first interim that we should book that at 1%. And within a matter of few weeks, the governor released his budget, and it was even lower at 0.76, which is a loss of 3.18 for next year. Again, in May, we'll see what the number ends up at. We aren't anticipating any growth. We're hoping that there won't be any further declines. And then after that, the Legislative Analyst's Office and School Services of California notified us of adjustments to the 25, 26, and 26, 27 COLAs as well, downward. So what does that look like for us? So when we were developing our budget model for the current 3-year model, these were our revenue assumptions. New COLA estimates were provided to the district, and you can see our new revenue adjustments changes to the Hart district were quite significant. And one of the problems is, now that our COLA has dropped down to the lower number, that means our per student funding that we had anticipated dropped down. And instead of every COLA after that building on the higher number, now every COLA after that is building on a lower number. So you're compounding, so for forever forward, we will have lost that percentage and the ability to compound and continue to grow that student funding per pupil. So what does that look like? At first interim, when we adopted the budget, we included the 1% and the 2 higher COLAs for the outlying years and submitted a budget to the county that was qualified in nature, meaning that for one of 3 budget years, I remind the board and the community that we're required by law to develop a 3-year budget projection using these assumptions. We're one of the few public agencies that does that, and they do that so that school districts don't end up year to year having huge revenue swings in their budgets and find themselves in delicate financial positions. The school board at the last meeting approved a fiscal stability plan, which had been required by the Los Angeles County Office of Education because of their concerns over decreases in attendance, decreasing our revenue, as well as increasing costs. The board adopted that, and we've now applied all of the COLA changes and the fiscal stability plan as approved by the board to our 3-year, or excuse me, to our multi-year projection. And as you can see by the bottom right-hand corner, which is called unassigned and unappropriated, at this point in time, assuming that all of the fiscal stability plan items are implemented 100% as approved by the board, today we're projecting 5.5 million in the savings account. That's what the unassigned and unappropriated line is in our ending fund balance. And you'll notice on here that ending fund balance has a number of components, little dashed lines down below, and those make up the total fund balance, which is called ending, or excuse me, the ending fund balance. This time, I'm going to ask Ms. Brittany Krasinski to specifically speak to restricted fund balances as a component of the ending fund balance and explain some of the nuances around how we can and can't use those funds and what those restricted components look like.
Good evening, governing board members, superintendent, cabinet. Restricted funds, we've received a lot of questions on what that is, because it is just a one-line item on the ending fund balance breakout. Restricted funds are generally grants and from big picture standpoint that have specific identified purposes of how they can be utilized in legislation, with the exception of the last line. Ralph, if you can change
I'll
the
go
slide.
back. Yeah.
No, go forward too.
Okay.
Thank you. With the exception of the last line on this slide, all of those items have specifically identified areas on how we can utilize them. And so we're limited in what we're able to put into those grant funds. Some of these, as you can see, like educator effectiveness, we had to develop a plan that we sent to the state on how we were going to utilize those funds. Lottery, this is specifically instructional materials, so textbooks that we buy for our students. We have, I know, a large textbook adoption that will be coming up relatively soon that will utilize a lot of these funds. We have Project Workability, which is a career visions program for special education students to immerse themselves in the workforce. The Arts and Music Block Grant is a brand new grant that we're working on obtaining all of the expenditure plans for, and we'll be integrating those into our programs at our school sites with new items going forward. And so each of these have specific areas where we can fund them, but I can identify that we do have salaries that are built into these particular grants. So educator effectiveness is actually funding 9 positions for program specialists, school-based therapists, and social workers. The Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant is providing just under 24 positions for our special ed department through pre-licensed therapists, behavior technicians, and board-certified behavior analysts. So these are really beneficial funds to help us support our programs and provide additional services. The last line I'll go into, other restricted local. This is where we utilize a lot of this for school site donation funds, so things that are specifically geared towards programs at our school sites, or We have school site allocations for discretionary funds for principals to utilize on their campuses. Additionally, we have some grants that are given to us by other individuals. We have a Project Lead the Way grant that we have booked in this particular line that again brings great programs and services to our students.
Thank you, Brittany. And these breakout slides really came out of a request from one of the board members, as well as some of our partners in HDTA and CSEA, and we felt it was important really for everybody to understand the components of the ending fund balance, and specifically that there is unrestricted funds and there are restricted funds, and then that the restricted funds have very targeted grant-like uses. So I just want to talk a little bit about what's coming our way next. In March, we will see the second interim report where the fiscal stability plan that was adopted at the last board meeting will be included in that second interim. All the revenue and the expenditure projections will be updated at second interim. In May, before the middle of the month, should be by the 10th, the governor will need to revise his proposed budget, submit it to the legislature, and he will announce it publicly. And so when I mentioned earlier that COLA could change again, that would be when it would happen. There's also another point of time that it may change. We will build our budgets based on what the governor tells us in May, but the legislature won't necessarily adopt their budget until mid to late June, and we will already be basically done with developing our budget. So then what happens? When we come back after the beginning of the year, we get a better picture and we get updates from our partners at the Legislative Analyst's Office and School Services of California. And at first interim, we'll integrate all of those new revenue projections from whatever the final budget looks like. So in some cases, at some points in time, we're actually chasing the state's budget to develop our own or to update our own with new information each time it comes through. Second interim report, and I'm just kind of going through the whole cycle now, which we're going to look at. I mentioned that we're going to be including the fiscal stability plan that was recently adopted. But staff is also working right now on reconciling actual revenues and expenditures between July 1st and January 31st. And that's the reporting period that we cover for second interim. Usually, kind of the normal cycle that would look there is at first interim, you know what your revenues is going to be, you book them in. You're still going to do some minor adjustments as the year goes through based on what you're seeing in attendance and enrollment. And then because you've gotten through half the year there at January 31st, that's a really good benchmark time. And we're looking at what our expenditure projections going to look like. And we're doing that sooner this year. In the past, we usually do that closer to budget adoption, but really feel that it's important moving forward. And this is going to be our new practice moving forward, that we're looking at those expenditures before the second interim report so that we're better able to project for the end of the school year. School services, who we've engaged to come in and review how the district budgets and look at our budgets. That was one of the recommendations they made, was they felt that that would better prepare the district for projections for the second half of the year. So we've already embraced that recommendation and implemented that. I included a budget cycle calendar in here, and this is a reference point. We just talked through a number of these, but really felt that this was a good visual reference for everybody to have available. And we're actually going to post this one slide up on the website as a standalone. as a reference tool for our community moving forward. But it really talks through every month. There's something going on in the budget process. And when Mr. Jensen says it's a living document, it's because we're constantly looking at data points and constantly making adjustments. And so what it looked like on the 1st of July is going to change by the time we get to December and as we continue to move through the year. I did talk a little bit about next steps. We're hopeful that the governor and the legislature and the LAO are not seeing something, and that the economy and specifically 2023 revenues come in better than anticipated. But we will know more, obviously, in the May revision. And that is our update for the current state of the state budget and how the fiscal stability plan and the revisions that we've received from the state have affected our budget. That's it, President Storley.
Thank you. Questions? Joe?
Okay.
Tina?
Yeah, hold on. All right, so just to try to clarify some terms, I heard tonight that we were cutting health insurance. There were teachers that would be receiving health insurance. You know anything about that?
I'm not familiar with that
Okay, well,
statement.
if you can find out where that came from, I'd appreciate it. Can we use COLA for anything when we get it from the state?
The cost of living adjustment is applied to the local control funding formula base per student that we're paid. And that is that funding, the LCFF unrestricted funding, is used to operate the district and pay salaries.
Okay, all right. I heard tonight too that we're always in arrears when we're negotiating. Is there any reason why we can't negotiate 2 years at a time?
I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of our chief negotiator in regards to negotiation strategy.
I'm not suggesting you do it, but we
I've
hear
heard of
it
other
all the
districts
time,
doing
and people don't understand how the cycle works. Yeah, I mean, so it might be something, if the union's not happy with a year at a time and being behind, we might want to put on the table. And the other thing about the May revise is, you just said it a minute ago, which is so true. It is kind of like, you're told this is going to be your salary for the year, and then somewhere in the year they say, that bonus I promised, well, you're not going to get that bonus, and I got to cut your salary by X amount of dollars. This is kind of what the state's been doing to us on a regular basis, telling us we're not going to get what they told us we were going to get. So this is why maybe looking forward and doing 2 years instead of 1 year, we could actually maybe make a dent in this or get out in front of this, maybe. Because when that May revise comes out, you're really going to know where we stand, aren't you, financially?
I would say we won't truly know where we stand
Well,
until after.
we'll have a
but
clue.
we'll have a better idea from.
It's in pencil.
Yeah,
I get it,
yes.
right? Yeah. And then last but not least, I keep hearing about the 8.22 COLA that came through last year. Did we not use any of that for raises, or we just took it all and used it for buses? I mean, I just don't know. I'm trying to understand because I keep hearing it come up, and I just want some clarification on it.
Sure. So the district, as we do multi-year projections in the future, and as we plan for as the board prioritizes and establishes the budget, the board and staff have a view of what's projected over those 3 years using those estimated COLAs. And so our revenue and our expenditure are based on those anticipated COLAs. And so when the district is looking forward and identifying what priorities it can fund long-term, it's considering all of the COLAs projections that are available to it at that moment.
But I think his question was,
We tend to use COLA for raises, do we not? It's part of, I realize it's part of the bigger picture. I'm not trying to.
COLA,
Yeah,
COLA provides the core funding, and then raises are determined out of core funding, yes.
So if it was 8% last year,
0.22 or something.
8.22, what did we do with that?
This year, there's an 8.22% COLA, and it is reflected in the current revenues.
I thought the COLA was 0.76.
That will be for next year, Mrs. Storley.
Okay. Sorry, Joe, I just had to get that in my head.
So
I'm trying to
So
understand.
we
too,
budgeted,
because
assuming
you
the
hear all this.
8.22% is coming in. It has. And our current budget reflects all expenditures associated with that the board has currently approved.
Yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Peshek. First, thank you for acknowledging whatever we want to call it, but the wrong slide being shared at the last meeting. I have a question related to that because we took action on that. If we need to take action on this presentation with the corrected information, because we took action on erroneous information.
We do not, Dr. Moore, you didn't approve the presentation. You approved the one page that was attached to the board
FSP.
item, the FSP.
Got it. Okay.
So there is no
Perfect.
action required. This is
Okay.
informational.
Okay. Thank you. And my question, I think, is part of what Joe and maybe Linda is trying to ask too. So I appreciate that you shared the assumptions document. And when we talk about COLA, it's not a one-for-one because within our COLA, we have total compensation costs that we account for. So that's benefits, health and welfare.
COLA is applied to revenue,
Right.
not to expenditures.
But we have to pay for those costs.
Out of our revenue, we pay expenditures. That is correct.
And I remember seeing a slide where you showed COLA and you showed the pieces that came out of it. This was a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, which doesn't leave it in the end with what you start off with. Is that accurate?
Yeah, with it, if I understand your question, Dr. Moore, you're asking if we receive an 8.22% COLA, how is that money used? It's added to our fund balance. The other, if I'm understanding what you're asking right now, how do we utilize that additional money? It is used for any compensation increases. It's used for any cost of increased costs within the district. If we have declining enrollment and lower ADA, we're receiving less money because we're paid based on average daily attendance. And so that makes less money available. And benefits costs go up, step and column goes up every year, and those all chip away at the COLA. Yeah.
That is what I'm asking, and because I'm very clearly remembering a slide where you showed all of the pieces that COLA.
Dr. Moore, we can certainly get you an updated.
Okay, I'd like to see that with, this was before the 8.22. I'd kind of like to see it, if you can put that together again to see where we are with what's coming out of it. And again, this helped me to see some of the costs that have to be a part of that. So my question, just clarifying, in 22-23, COLA was 6.56%. I appreciate the historic COLA piece too. And this year, as we've heard, it's the highest COLA in history. I'm just curious when you put that together to compare those two and what the costs are from the 6.56. And I know I'm not explaining this well, but when you see the slide that you put together, you'll know exactly what I'm asking for. and the 8.22.
I'll probably follow up with you, Dr. Moore, to make sure
Okay.
that we get you what you're asking for.
Okay,
If
because
that's,
I
if
want to
that's a
see the difference of what's remaining from the 6.56 versus the 8.22, because costs go up each year and what that looks like from what's remaining. And then the other clarifying question that I have, the projections that you shared, the first interim shows $37 million negative unassigned and unappropriated. The fiscal stability plan, which is after we put in everything that's on this side, the RIFs, the general fund expenditure reductions, the sweeps, and the program reductions. When you put all of those pieces in, plus the increased revenue, then we end up in the unassigned unappropriated at 5.5 million. Okay. And I don't know if this is coincidence or not, but it's that difference between the negative 37 million and the 5 million to the positive, once those things are applied, is about 42, almost 43 million. And when I add up all of the pieces in this fiscal stability plan, and I know that this is where my question is, it's also about 43 million. But that's over 3 years. And I'm just wondering, is that just a coincidence, or is there some way? This is showing this over 3 years too, so they should match, right?
Can I jump in, Dr.
Yes.
Moore? I think let me rephrase. Is your question, Dr. Moore, the fiscal stability plan that we approved at the last board meeting, are all of those cuts going to occur in 1 year, or are they spread out over multiple years?
I believe it's over 3 years.
Yeah, that's the clarification. It's not all happening in 1 year.
So the difference, that negative 37 million to the 5.5 million plus, reflects that 43 million spread over the 3 years. So they should be the same number.
They'll be very close. We've actually, we continue to do work.
I know that it continues to tweak, and we continue to do this.
And so at that moment in time, that's the plan that the board approved. We will still continue and to bring before the board additional areas for additional revenue and additional options for efficiencies moving forward. That plan was a snapshot at that moment at the board. It doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to do that work.
Okay. So that's where we see it reflected. And then my last question is this slide here, the tale of 2 multi-year projections. Just want to clarify, is this our data in this, or is this school services?
That's our data.
This is our data. Okay.
It is a school services slide that Brittany and I updated with our information.
Okay. All right. I noticed something in there, but we can talk about that later. Okay, thank you.
And I understand that you and Brittany are working very hard. Thank you for the 1 hour that became 2-hour coaching for me. Maybe because I needed more coaching. That we are going through every single thing we can to try to eke out more money where we can and save more money where we can. And we've gone through, and I think you scrubbed the stuff, and we're chipping away at expenditures, which is, we can't do much about what we get in, but expenditures. And we're going through those and trying to find ways of saving money so we don't have to do other things. And I understand that. I'm a little fuzzy on the 8 point something COLA down to the 0.76 COLA. The 8 something COLA is what we base the 10% half-year raise on. No, I lied.
8.22% COLA helps us determine what our level of revenue is. It was certainly a known factor as the board and staff considered what capacity we had. for compensation.
Okay.
We also were taking into consideration all other costs within the district.
Okay. So, but what I'm trying to understand is the raises that we gave that didn't retro, the 5% raise to the teachers and whatever to the classified, I'm sorry, 10%, and the classified staff, that was based on the 8%, that was influenced by the 8% COLA.
We looked at multiple years of COLA projections to determine what our anticipated revenue would be so that we could determine.
And we didn't expect, nor did, I guess maybe if you looked into the future, but we didn't expect to go from an 8-something% COLA to 0.76 COLA. We didn't.
We certainly did not anticipate this year's
Did
reduction.
anyone anticipate this besides
was
someone
not-
with a crystal ball?
Not until we all started getting some flags.
Okay.
One of the challenges this year, Ms. Storley, and Mr. Jensen isn't here to speak to this right now, but we'll all remember that tax season
Yes.
for the state of California was deferred
They bumped it back.
basically to the holidays.
Yes.
And so the state was giving out revenue projections without all the information that they had. And so they are now, and we are reaping the wrath of that situation.
Am I correct in saying that the budgets have become more complicated in the last 3 years than they were 8 years ago?
They are certainly more complex. There are more funding streams and for a period of time, one-time money associated with COVID, yes.
'Cause I don't remember us struggling so with understanding all the pieces. Or maybe I'm just becoming more aware of all the pieces.
Oh, it's a very, very complex process. There are tens of thousands of lines of budget code that staff deal with on a daily basis.
Well, I thank you and Brittany both for working on this. Please keep trying to chip away at things we could possibly do without. I've got a paper clip or two at home I could bring back from the
We
school.
absolutely will, and we hope that that bottom line shifts again before second interim. That is the work we're doing right now.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you so much. It's
Thank you, Brittany.
seems to be tough. Thank you and good night. You get to go home. Moving on to our next item. Let me see where we are here. New revised board policy, and this is Dr. Vieira.
Thank you, President Storley.
Not Dr. Nielsen, but Dr. Vieira. Just making it straight here, who's what. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So tonight is a first reading for one board policy and an accompanying administrative regulation. It's board policy and AR Administrative Regulation 5117, interdistrict attendance. Currently, the district does not have an administrative regulation, and this would bring both of these current with our district practice, also in alignment with Ed Code, and again, using California School Boards Association recommendations. The last time this policy was revised was actually in 2006. Again, this is the first reading tonight. It's going to be brought back for action at an upcoming board meeting, the next board meeting.
Anyone have any questions? Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Dr. Vieira, for bringing this in. And I see the changes. It looks like a significant amount was removed related to the attendance agreements and permits. So most of this is, as I read it, is what we do with another district.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then my only, so they asked to change on that, but they didn't, when they send the changes, do they see what our existing policy is, or they just say, make these additions to your piece?
Who you are referring to?
CSBA.
No, we actually get a quarterly update, and then it's our responsibility to then match them up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only reason I'm asking is because you said this was 2006, the last time it was looked at, and I'm wondering where, because Castaic has opened since then, and we have permits that we allow students to go to Castaic who live out of district, and this doesn't seem to apply, or it's waived, and I'm just wondering if we need to revise this part to incorporate what we do in those circumstances.
I think this is taking that into account. I think before it really talks about having overcrowding and not permitting students to enter. And so I think what we tried to do is take that part out and then have it reflect more our practice, for example, with Castaic. Kathy, anything to add to that?
That is correct. Our prior practice back in 2006, where we were really overcrowded at that point, and we really did not accept hardly any students coming on an interdistrict transfer. And so this is updated to reflect current practice, which does include Castaic, which was initially open enrollment, full open enrollment. Mr. Ferry has asked for it no longer to be full open enrollment, but to be what we're calling modified open enrollment. And so really it'll work the same way as an interdistrict transfer request. Those forms will come in so he can actually evaluate and make the decision yes or no on each student who's applying, as opposed to open enrollment, which truly means you accept every student regardless. They've found some issues have come up with students who just cannot attend regularly because they live too far away. And if they've not had good attendance in the area they're currently residing, they generally are not going to have it driving all the way out to Castaic either. And so he's just trying to make sure he sets people up for success.
So since we don't have anything about a modified interdistrict permit.
So that's my wording. It's just
Okay.
an interdistrict transfer. Right.
Okay.
With Vince, we have called it modified because we had a conversation, he, Eram, and I, and he no longer wants full open enrollment. And so basically everyone will fill out an IDT.
All right. I look at number 6, and one of the reasons that we approve it is that where we would mark for Castaic is valid interest in a particular education program? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. I just wanted to make sure we were capturing them. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
So at the bottom, it says the number of students transferred out of the district can, if it like reaches a specific limit, like they can reject the transfer. Have we reached that limit for student transfers? Is that why it's being put on?
The statement you read, is it saying transfers out or transfers in?
Out.
Transfers out? No, we don't have very many students who transfer out of our district at all. The ones who do are almost always because their parent is a teacher in another district such as LA Unified, and they want to take their child with them. And then we have usually 2 or 3 a year that leave to go to like a special performing arts school that they got a special admission into. Other than that, people tend to always just stay here in our district. We lose very, very, very few students.
Okay, so it's not like based off of like what's happening now, it's just of what could happen.
Correct. Yeah, we have to have all the language in there for the future, but it is not happening now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're now going to move to action items. And Mr. Peshek.
Thank you, Ms. Storley. Before you this evening, we have an amendment to an existing lease agreement. The district owns a piece of property over by Hart High School, which for a number of years we have partnered with Volunteers of America Los Angeles to allow them to use that property to host a child care center. And as we continue to look as we were just discussing in the budget, not only for areas of opportunities to scrub and reduce expenditures and be more efficient, we also were looking for opportunities to appropriately bring in more revenue. We determined that the lease on that property was a little too low. We proposed $12,000 a year increase, and after so little time to discuss, they were amenable to that. And so before you this evening, we're asking the board to approve this revised lease, which will provide a one-year lease renewal beginning January 1st, 2024, with the option for 4 renewals or a total of 5 years. We have included a consumer price index automatic COLA that each year we will notify the tenants of what their new increase will be, and it will be based on the consumer price index for Los Angeles.
And they've signed a contract.
They have agreed to these terms, and
Okay.
so we are bringing them forward to the board for approval this evening.
So I need a,
moved.
thank you. Moved by Dr. Moore, second by Mrs. Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
And the president says aye.
Thank you.
Okay, change order. Mr. Otofka.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board.
I don't know, it's, oh, you always make me smile. I don't know why.
Thank you. Well, that's really good to know. Thank you. Okay, would you like me to begin?
Oh, please do.
Okay. The Hart High School softball field project is proceeding on schedule and is now substantially complete. While the original plan called for hydroseeding the field after grading, a revised approach will get the team on the field faster. Hydroseeding, while cost-effective, requires 8 to 12 weeks for the grass to mature before we have a game-ready field. To ensure the team can practice and play on the field this season, staff collaborated with the contractor to switch to sod installation. This premium option allows play to commence in just 3 to 4 weeks, or about 2 weeks from now. Staff understands this change represents an additional cost, but fortunately, contingencies within the project budget have been allocated to cover it. The team's first game is on March 12th, and the field will be ready for them to play on for that game. A ribbon-cutting ceremony is being planned for the opening day on March 12th, and board members will be notified about the event in the next few days. Staff recommends ratifying this change order. Are there any questions?
Sure, they'll be very happy. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Messina, second by Dr. Moore. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
President says aye. Passed. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, we have someone, okay, sorry. Let me just go here. Okay, so we have second public comment. Rebecca? Hi, Rebecca.
The other night, and I want to thank them for encouraging that, and I also want to know why the district took it off of our website. Question to be answered later. Going on, our district is facing many dangers. Our priority should be safety. On November 15th, 2023, at the Hart High School auditorium, our safety was at risk because of friends of this board. Jerry Cook, Joe Messina's best friend and co-host, admitted in a recent sermon that Brother Bob, a former police officer, brought a weapon onto our campus. That board meeting had increased security, and yet a concealed weapon made it in. How many times has this happened? We don't know. Something needs to change. Another aspect of safety that the district needs to keep a watch on is private information being sought without the proper public records requests. I believe that one of our board members has supplied an email that I sent the board in August to a resident of Santa Clarita without a public records request. This same board member has supplied written testimony as a board member in a court case that I believe was not cleared by any legal advisor of the district. The person in possession of these 2 items is the same person that is under felony menacing investigation for threats of gun violence to this district. This is not the first time this board member has put this district in legal jeopardy. Need I remind you of him reading a student's name and letter on a nationally syndicated talk show? How is our district keeping us safe when one of our board members jeopardizes our safety? What is happening in our district? How are you keeping us safe when teachers are threatening to strike, guns are being brought on campus, and the district doesn't seem to be able to keep us financially solvent? And if you would like, I did bring copies of the emails that were handed out. Thank you.
Thank you. I did look into something. I'm just not speaking to Mrs. Hyman, but okay. If you have a carry permit in California, which many of my relatives do, that allows you to carry in certain places, but not on school campuses, not into banks, not into other places. And I do understand that there were people in the meeting at Hart that had carry permits, but shouldn't have been brought into a school. So we need to do something, maybe inform the public where they can and can't carry. Okay, this is for consent before or after? Okay, we have two requests to speak to us. Diane Zimmerman. And then Rebecca.
D2?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This just, I only just read a little bit about this afternoon, and just the word EPIC has a whole lot to do with Fortnite, and this is a 10-year or following a child or children, however many, through years of their activities, whatever they do, how they feel, what are their feelings about this, that, and the other. And it's games. It's games. I'm sorry. First of all, USC does not impress me anymore, period, as far as what they are teaching kids in schools today, and have been for, like some of you even on this board. The idea is you get back to teaching kids reading, writing, math, history, and everything, and quit trying to keep them in the house all the time where they're not mingling with their friends. It's such encouragement to go robot and AI on us. And we are on that topic. I looked it up, and it's epic. And that is a lot to do with Fortnite. And if any of you know what that is, I didn't know what it was till I read about it today. At any rate, if I'm off base, I apologize. But I'd like you to just look into it more and think about what you're approving as to what's good for kids in their future. And certainly kids being tied to these games and not out mingling with one another on a constant basis, doing something together where they're face to face, it's just absurd. And AI is absurd. Thanks.
Thank you. Rebecca? This was on non-public schools? Those can all go back.
Know what it was. This is about D3 on the consent calendar, about Telos U. As a parent of an exceptional needs student who has severe behavioral issues, I'm appalled that this program is contracting with our district. I'm here to question yet another contract for teaching and/or counseling by a service that has foundations. I'm even going to take this out right now. I'm going to fly on this. I understand that we have restrictions in California regarding our lockdown situations with children with behavioral and mental health needs. But the fact that we are willing as a district to send them to this place in Utah, where I found information, I did some deep digging on this because it flagged I have a child who was in mental health holds, who had to be in service. I would never send him to a place like this. This school, it's basically a school. But what it is they all have had previous pasts with schools that have behavior modification programs that have been dinged for reports of inappropriate treatment, inadequate care, as well as they have allegations of abuse and neglect that have been reported by survivors, including social isolation, communication blocks, violent physical restraints, shame attack therapy, homophobia and conversion therapy, and emotional abuse brainwashing techniques. There's also been reports of sexual abuse taking place at Telos. Why are we allowing our students to go to a place like this for their education? We can do better. We can do better as a district, and we can do better as a state when we take care of our children's mental health and their education. Thank you.
Thank you. All those done? Okay. I need a motion for the consent calendar. Or, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Does anyone have anything that they would like to talk about on the consent calendar or pull from the consent calendar?
I would like to talk about both D2 and D3.
Okay.
D2, I just need clarification. I didn't read that it was a study about video game use.
It's not.
Okay.
I didn't.
I can clarify for you. It's a longitudinal study. It'll go across at least 4 years, so they're looking only for ninth graders. And it was teachers who volunteered at different schools. The students and their parents both have to sign a voluntary statement to participate. Money goes to the school for actually participating, and then the teacher gets some like gift cards and things for giving up time for the proctor to come in. And all they're looking at is substance abuse, decisions that kids make that lead to them making poor choices regarding using substances. So I don't know if there's some confusion there regarding like IA and that rolling out, but it has nothing to do with this study.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Turner, you probably will answer the question about D3 also for the Telios Academy. I know we have the non-public schools that we work with, and this is one. How long have we worked with them?
This would be a new contract. What we do is there are ones that are approved by the state for us to be able to have contracts with. It doesn't mean you're sending a student there. It just means that we have a contract in place should we ever need that particular facility. And we have people from our district special ed department that have to go to those facilities to check constantly to make sure that their practices are ethical for our students. So we would not be placing any student anywhere where we didn't feel like they would be safe. Obviously, there are complaints that go against any number of residential treatment centers over the years. Things are investigated, things change, and we always make sure that they're improved and safe if we're going to even look at sending a student there. And clearly, parents are involved with that.
Parents have to approve where we send them.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
At this point in time, just to let you know, we only have 6 kids in residential treatment centers, and none of them are in this facility at all, or any, ours are mostly right now in California.
And it's state approved, right?
Yes.
State approved.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So was it reviewed like already and then we're approving it, or will it be approved and then it'll be reviewed?
They'll do a contract because it's been approved by the state to be on the list as being a safe place for students to be able to go. But we personally, as a district, won't send anyone there without going out and doing a visit first. We usually send a school psychologist along with another mental health professional, and they go actually make a visit to the facility.
Thank you.
Any other questions? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Wilson, seconded by Mr. Messina. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
President says aye. Consent calendar is passed. Okay, comments for, we don't have that. We don't have any, do we? Okay. closed session, okay.
The items for future
Yes,
consideration?
I'm scrolling down here. Items for future consideration. I have one. I would like us to look at bathroom facilities on campuses that have sporting events that the public attends. My question comes about by parents asking me why grandma has to walk 17 miles to the bathroom when she's watching a game at X number of schools, where some schools have bathrooms right there. And I realize we're not spending money right now, but even portable potties on the guest side, to ask someone to walk that doesn't know a campus across the field and then into a school to try to use a bathroom, I think we need to look into that. That would be something I would like to look into. Anyone else have a future consideration?
In light of what was brought to us tonight with the petition and what have you, I'd like to see this, at least relook at that situation with the Indian. You know, we promised a mural. The mural has no
I think
Indian
I'd
on
like to
there.
go look at the mural.
And I don't know if we've opened the cultural center that we promised to open too. You have to ask the president, but the bottom line with it is I think that we didn't have all the information at the time, and we should at least take a quick look at it. That it be put back on the agenda. They've got 1,400 signatures. They came up with the stats of the numbers, and we may have gotten into a situation in the fervor of the moment. And if we agreed to do the mural, and we agreed to do a cultural center, and we haven't done that, then we haven't lived up to what we told them we would do. If you've got a mural without a Native American on there, we've actually wiped them out instead of honoring them.
I'm not arguing one way or the other. I'm asking for clarification.
Yes, yeah, if that's the way that, yes, we can do that.
Well, I'm not sure how to resolve. We spent months on this, and I understand that my daughter graduated from Hart. I have a stepson that teaches at Hart. I understand this is a very emotional issue, which we took, like I said, months going over. I will personally go and look at the mural, and I need some guidance here, May. Is it my understanding that any member up here can put something on the agenda, or does it have to be voted on by us?
To be voted on.
So if I understand this, then
Can't
Mr.
vote on it
Messina
now,
would
though.
like, no?
Right?
We
No.
can't vote now, but
No,
we
you
can
have to
vote
bring it
on
back
But
as
you
an
can put it on
information
future-
item and then vote to put it
future
on the
items.
agenda.
Okay, so we have to bring back that we want to have a
Now we
item
have to
put
check
on.
with legal counsel.
Okay, I understand, but what I'm saying is, if we had something on an agenda, it would be to add this to the agenda.
I guess one way of looking at it, and I'm just trying to provide options, would be.
Thank you.
If you would like, we could bring back an item that is an information item to begin with. If you could, and you could clarify what it is what more information you'd want, and then the board could determine where to go from there.
I think that's a good idea to start.
Okay.
What kind of information are you asking for?
Well, two things. One is, when we had the original meeting, I don't think
Meetings.
what's that?
Meetings, multiple.
Whatever it was.
Many
Yeah,
meetings.
yes, we had a meeting, and the night that everybody was here, being vocal, I don't know how many people we had from the actual tribe here. We had a representative here that had nothing to do with their tribe. Now, we agreed, and at that night it was voted on to do the mural, what were we calling the center? Whatever.
Informational, yes.
Yeah, Bob, I wish Bob hadn't left. He had a different name for it. So we had the center and what have you, because we wanted to honor the Native American, not wipe them out. And at this point, if we don't have cultural center, that's what he called it. If we don't have a cultural center, and we have a mural with no Native American on there, and we don't have any information, what we did, to their point, we wiped them out.
Well, I was just wondering because I wasn't here for that, but it sounds like, it sounds like there's a large population who felt like they were not part of that. And so I know I can't really speak to that, but I'm wondering why they didn't know.
Well, just some clarification. We had meeting after meeting, many meetings, and people from both sides talked.
We'll go through that again if we have to.
And we will, but the gist of the matter is some Native Americans are offended by the word Indian and Indians, and some Native Americans are not upset with that. If a child is on the campus and they're yelling, "Go Indians," and it offends that child who happens to be a Native American, that's where we made our decisions from. That's bad English, but from where we made our decisions. We had multiple meetings about this and discussions, and many people on both sides spoke. So that's kind of the background. But
I just need,
can look
whatever
at
the
it.
board wants to do is fine. I just need clarification. I can't prepare a presentation unless I know what it is that the board, do you want to have an open forum for people to speak about this?
So if it's
What's
an
your desire?
agenda item, even information, they'd have the ability to come up and speak to it. But I think we need to give them a voice. I guess that's what I'm saying. If
Well,
it's an
I think-
information item, and I understand what you're saying, that we gave people, we also gave people 10 years to know we were building Castaic High School, and we had people come here accusing of not getting the message out 10 years after we started it.
What I'd like to see is what we didn't do. If we didn't do the right thing, maybe we could have an ad hoc committee to go look at the cultural center and go look at the mural.
I would suggest that in a Friday memo, we look at all of the pieces that we did say, because we did talk about a mural, we talked about the brochure, we talked about Culture Center, and the updates haven't been around those things, so maybe
Seen the
that we
brochure.
can get the update on in a Friday memo to see where those pieces are.
Okay.
Then what? Whether they have a meeting? So,
I think what they want is another meeting
they want
where,
to yeah.
go ahead.
It's just another shot to allow the people that we actually didn't hear from to be heard from. And I don't think it has to be as big a deal as last time. I don't think we need an ad hoc committee. I think any one of us, I think we're allowed to go to Hart High and see what
I'll
they have
go over
there.
to Hart High and look at it.
You know, but I think that when they came up and said, do we have an option? Yeah, you have an option to redress the board, but if it goes nowhere, it goes nowhere. But with 1,400 signatures and there's only a few here tonight, I think they have more than this that want to be heard. They're actually part of the tribe that we said was offended.
Was the person who came forward that was offended, were they part of our district?
For
So
children.
I think, yeah,
Some were part of
maybe
the
we
district.
want to send Miss Wilson some information.
Representation of the tribe was down in San Fernando, a tribe out of San Fernando, or a group, and the
Not true.
I would beg to
Batavians were
differ
That's the
very,
wrong way
very
around.
much on
That's
that.
the wrong way
And
around.
this is going to go the same place I did before. I think you have legitimate questions about the mural, the cultural center, the brochure, but in terms of public input and public comment, there were hours and hours and open site on the website for continued even beyond that. It was more time than we've spent since I've been on the board on anything.
I think we need to check to see if what we promised we did, and if not, I think we need to fix that. I do not believe we need another 20 hours spent on listening to people. Yes, I want the Indian, and no, I don't. Let's look into this. and make sure that what we promised, along with retiring the mascot, I think of Steve when the mascot that's not really a mascot, but we said we'd retire this within a certain amount of time, but we also said we'd do a brochure and a mural, and we would do a cultural center. Let's see if those things have been done. So I will go and take a look at that and report back.
As for the fixing of the mural, if there's something up with the mural that's not correct, will there be a possibility of a Native American presence when if it were to be rebuilded or redone, so that we know for sure that the right group is being represented?
It was the Tatavian tribe that was here.
And they were very much involved in the mural. President of the tribe, or of the,
Rudy. Okay, I think we're going to get a Friday memo. I'm going to go. I will report back to Debbie what I see, and we'll go from there.
adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
And the president says aye. Thank you so much. I'll be on Hart's campus tomorrow.